So our little Dharma talk for today connects to last week's Seeking the which we've been talking about here this morning. And it's kind of a key thing in the process if you're going to unwind and get to the which is to get better at noticing where our stuck places are and what they are, what the nature of them is. It might be old injury. It might be, we gardened too much this weekend. And so that's where, while low back is where my stagnation is, it doesn't have to be extreme pain in order for it to, in a sense, be a problem, because A, it makes us uncomfortable, but also B, makes us prone to injury, right? So we want to learn how to listen to those places. And I want to point out that there's an emotional, psychological version of stuck as well that is incredibly important. I mentioned that if we want to seek the we have to notice when we're striving and to notice maybe what parts of our body get involved in that. For me, it's always the base of the skull neck connection, the I've got a muscles, I just go into gear, right? So noticing what those are, but also, there may be a whole like history. So I have a car accident history there as well. And so there's this incredible kind of dance with the physical and the emotional that I can feel really gets fired up. For some people, it might be the discomfort of just being in a public situation. Some people are really stressed out by that. Maybe it's that you have a flight coming up and one of your big things is you're terrified of missing your flight or what have you. So noticing what triggers you. We had a friend stay at the Third Mountain Retreat a few weeks ago who just finds driving on the freeway incredibly like panic levels, but that was the only way to get partway out from the cities. And then they got off and did the side road. And what I've noticed about this person is that they have high levels of anxiety around all kinds of things. And that over the years, they have definitely lessened, but there is still such a string to be plucked, if you think about it, right? Like if you think about an instrument and you just go boing. So noticing what are your little stuck places emotionally, your fear of accidents, your fear of being abandoned, your fear of not enough money, what gets you going, what plucks your string, as I like to put it, but there are a lot of different ways to think about this. So I think a key part of getting to the that we talked so much about last week is honing in on what your stuck places are and getting more intimate with them. And so that's going to be our practice today. And it's, again, a lot of them are just poses, et cetera, that you're familiar with, and then noticing how they play upon you, what happens to you when you do them. All right. Let's come down to our back bodies and first find a certain level of of ease. We know in this position, just laying flat, arms relaxed, head relaxed, the spine can decompress. There is nothing that you need to do to hold your head on, nothing you need to do to tighten in the hips to orient your legs. So just let them flop so the feet maybe roll open, whatever. And we'll begin with our sighing breaths. Inhaling slow, deep and wide. Really enjoying the luxuriousness of the inhale. Don't rush, of course. Don't hurry. Be kind to your body, to your breath. Notice where those inhales are touching you and actually let it going for a few more rounds. Where do you feel fabric moving against your skin? And I hope you notice that moment at the end of the inhale where you're almost floating and there's a pause and then the exhale, the deeper giving in. Yeah, it's super fun to notice how powerful language is. We have a mantra my mom shared with our yoga community years ago. Plenty of time, plenty of money. No, sorry, plenty of time, plenty of help, plenty of money. Although you can do it in whatever order you want. But here's the key thing is the word plenty. Over the years, a lot of people have remembered it as enough. And I'd love for you to just try that on for a moment. Is there a difference between enough and plenty. You feel it. I do too. When it feels like the most natural thing in the world, let the sighing breath drift away. Let the mouth close unless you're really stuffy today with allergies. Breathing gently and slowly through the nose. Tuning your inner gaze as if you're looking up and in behind that third eye point. Lightly connecting the tip of the tongue behind the front teeth that says, I'm awake. I am present here in this body, in this moment. And lastly, you might add ujjayi, great sounding breath, that little throat contraction. And all of these sweet little tools together help us become more introverted. And in that place, we're more likely to notice and become intimate with our stuck spots, our stagnation, our tension, and of course, the thoughts that connect to all that. Please enjoy the next few breaths just being in a place of soft curiosity. And we'll return to this question later towards the end of practice, but you might simply ask yourself, kind of let your being know that you're interested. What are my stuck places? And do I have any particular words or language that connect to it? Next, we're going to come into compression and expansion breathing. This is one of the best places that I know to get a complete exchange of breath, to thoroughly ignite the core, so we're more likely to be able to release in those striving neck muscles, jaw, TMJ, all of that. And I want to point out that you're actually helping flush your internal organs with fresh blood and so on. And so all of these places that can hold so much stagnation. So it's a really, to me, a very powerful practice. As you're ready, slowly, steadily engage belly towards spine on the exhale. Keep compressing out. Drop. And one way to check if you're not sure and you don't want to rush the process is to maybe whisper. And you could whisper a sort of sweet nothing to yourself, something that helps you be here now, helps you release the striver, but you're emptying, 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 empty with deep power through the center body until there's nothing left. Then softening and allowing yourself to be breathed. I want to point out something. Please continue. That being breathed to me is really profound. You've created a vacuum with your compression exhale. And when you just allow the breath to happen in that way, it's such a beautiful message to your system. I don't have to do everything. I don't have to direct the flow of the entire universe. This just happens for me. And with it comes so many forms of inspiration and support from the universe, God, from the higher self, from Mother Earth, whatever you want to connect with. As we stay here for a number of rounds, I want you to notice a few things. One, if your mind wanders off, tether it, return it back, maybe by paying attention to your ujjayi or asking, is there more? Notice if you're fully engaging your core, it should let the pelvis tilt upward, the pubic bone tilting a little towards the ceiling, the low back flattening against the floor. And this is a key time. If you're a striver through the neck, shoulders, jaw, please roll the head side to side. Because there's just nothing to accomplish here. Just having fun with deep power, no striving. You guys definitely already did the big thing. You got to the mat. I'm so proud of you. So grateful. As we do maybe 3 more, please see if you can get a little extra out. And particularly on those inhales, as you sense that they're almost complete, try to expand or sip in a little extra. And my hope is that it just comes again like a little wave, like a bucket flowing over, and that you might even feel some lift and release through these trapezius muscles. There's a lot of kind of fine spaces through which nerves flow here. And when you get that last supple bit of the inhale, it really can create space, a new softness and ease for those nerves and fibers running all the way up to the cranium. The next time you're exhaling, please empty and hold out. You can make it kind of a compression exhale, but if you do a little less, you'll have more time for the belly pumping, which is where we're headed. So exhale, empty, and then draw the belly in, press the belly out. In and out, until you need to breathe. And often I feel like I need a sign breath after because it's quite a lot of work, right? Yeah, I'm hoping you might be feeling as you do this one more round, you might feel that massage happening in the lower back or throughout those organs, digestive, eliminating organs, all of it. And even the vagus nerve can be deeply affected by this movement. We know that the vagus nerve really helps regulate kind of bliss versus fight or flight. Very, very important. When that is all good and done, my friends, bring knees to belly. Oh, nice little hug here, side to side. We're going to take it into spinal twist, which is again a powerful place to work with releasing stagnation. We've got enough room in the room here, so go to whichever side you want first, taking the legs down to the side. Consider using your forehand to kind of anchor the tops of the thighs. Feet are flexed, knees straight forward at the joints. And I'm going to go into the open position on the inhale. Is there more? And exhale, return to embryo pose. And maybe even rotate forward onto my forehead. So I'm going to use that same arm that's opening out behind in the inhale to support on the floor and rotate my forehead towards the mat. So I'm really inviting the neck to do a deeper range of motion. You'll also notice that this is a very introverted shape, right? That we're really curled into ourselves and with the floor. And then there's this open shape. We have different energies. One more, and we'll hold in the open position. And I'm going to add a movement that I hope will help you discover stagnation and release it. So what you're going to do is take your back arm and you're going to reach it up behind your head. You're reaching for the wall behind your head, and then pull down so that your elbow is coming into your wrist. You're pulling on a big pulley, and you're opening that reach, and you're clenching, if you will. Clenching is not the best word, but deeply contracting that arm for that pulley. And I'm hoping that you guys feel how it engages and releases through this side body. So it's really important. The lat muscles structurally hold that shoulder joint or the shoulder girdle and hip girdle connected. But also energetically, man, we take on so much tension here and we feel so bound up. We can't just freely, luxuriously reach overhead. At some point, In your open position, whatever's comfortable, wherever you want that arm, maybe it's straight back, maybe it's straight up. If you'd like, go ahead and extend that top leg into your floor hand, heel flexed. So that leg might be coming straight out from the body. Maybe you're drawing with a little engagement of your floor hand, drawing it closer towards your ear, getting a stretch through the IT band and maybe even to the hip of that top leg. Yeah. As you take one last inhale here, where does it massage you? Where does it discover stagnation? Please bend the knees again before you return, and however you'd like, make your journey to the other side. Just notice if your head's dropping and it's awkward, maybe tuck a little blanket or a cushion underneath. If having your knees both together, also connecting to the floor, creates undue tension on your low back or hip, remember you can place something right between the knees so that that top knee is even with the hip. And again, we're going to open and close, and please remember on that closing to enjoy, if you like it, the option of that top hand supporting and kind of rolling onto the forehead. And you can get your other arm kind of out of the way or have it tucked under your head. Is this side, what's going on today? Your hip, your spine, your side body, neck. The next time you are open, you might start that active pulley, bringing the arm up behind you and then pulling down, elbow towards ribs. Feel free to add your ujjayi and powerful moving stagnation out. Hey, if you just got a chiropractic adjustment like I just did, no extra cost. It's so cool, when we let our body come into these kinds of movements, especially contract and release, often it will, on its own, release those areas that were subluxated. And at some point, as you're ready, holding in an open position, opportunity to extend that top leg into the weighted hand. Head is wherever it feels yummy. We're breathing, saying hello. High stop spot, high intensity. Good to know you. And whenever you're ready, we're going to actually come onto our back body. Invitation to bring the feet all the way in. So it's like bridge pose, but the inner line of the thigh is touching and the feet are touching. So you've got contact there. I'm going to work my shoulder blades in and down, like my palms kind of roll open. So reducing neck pressure. And I'm going to very intentionally fire up all those muscles through the kind of inner thigh, groin, pelvic floor. And very slowly raise the hips, knowing they will not come as far up as they do in the bridge, and they shouldn't. Please keep a deep connection in that inner leg. We're trying to wake up those inner thigh muscles, etc., so they can do a better job of holding our hip and knee joints. And coming slowly out. We're going to come into happy baby. So bring those knees towards and wide. Maybe holding at the big toes or the blades of the feet or a strap or if you prefer ankle. And once again, rolling a little side to side and hoping you might bring a little massage to some of those stagnant areas, kind of back in that kidney zone or the upper hip and low back. Just make sure you're being a nice massage therapist today, okay? All right. We're going to then bring those heels together at the butt in butterfly. And this is one of my favorite ways to create mobility and again, do stagnation, is I'll just bring one foot up towards my chest. And I kind of let the other go a little away from me. And it tends to just naturally roll me to the side, which again, bringing me into releasing tension through some stomach spots that I don't really notice when I'm walking in a forward path motion. but I'll, all of a sudden go to pick something up and be like, oh, and so notice what's going on in here. We're then going to plant the feet for horse riding stance, nice and wide. Raise the hips up, doesn't matter how high, and you might kind of release and press again, just sort of pulsing in that middle range. And when the hips settle, please keep the feet wide and let the right knee come down and in towards the center line. And we're going to once again reach through the arm. This time it's the right arm, right knee down, right arm reaches up, and inviting you to pull on the pulley again. When you come out of that pulley position and you reach the arm again, think about going past the center line. So I'm not just reaching back, but I'm going past my head, letting my head kind of rotate away from the knee and the armpit up. When you're ready, we'll switch. Drawing long on that pulley and then reaching. So again, noticing what's here. And obviously, throughout our whole practice, always caring for anything that might be saying, I'm not feeling okay. This is maybe a little destabilizing or ouchy. So we never stay in poses that hurt, but we take notice of those places that kind of ouch. And that's a beautiful time to then, maybe you come out of the pose and you take your hand to that spot. You go, oh, yeah, what's going on in that side of the leg or that upper butt cheek? Can be a big part of what makes our low back ouchy. All right, we're going to come into fabulous core strengthening pose for those inner thighs, low glutes, groin, and bringing the soles of the feet together. I invite you to notice, just as you settle in a relaxed version, what's going on, and if the sides feel the same. You can rock a little side to side. You can do a little butterfly wing if you want. And then as you're ready, just raise the hips a little off the floor, not much. Check in with the neck. Notice if it was trying to participate. Please observe the fact that this pose, we're going to be here for another maybe 30 seconds, does not require engagement from the waistline up. So if you're having any, it's just unnecessary, habitual. It also might be fun to observe those of you who've been doing this one with me a while. Remember what it was like when you first did it? I mean, I wasn't even sure I could lift my hips off the floor. I was like, which muscles do that? I'm not sure. So I'm hoping you get to then also notice, how strong you feel, how much power there is. And here's the deal, when we've got full-on power in our core and in the muscles that are supposed to be supporting us and moving us through space and lifting things, then we don't tend to take on the stagnation and stuckness in these other vulnerable places like head and shoulders. All right, we're going to come from here, letting the hips settle, bring knees to belly again, or whatever feels juicy. And then however you want to get there, we're actually coming to forearm plank. So maybe you spinal rock into cross-legged, roll forward. If you're coming from here, I like to do it like this. I've still got my ankles crossed behind me. I'm going to come onto my forearms. I'm going to tuck into a cat back, which I'll release into more neutral once I'm in my forearm plank. But then you can just gently step back. Or if you're already pretty warm this morning, maybe you've done a bunch of fun stuff. If you want to jump back, that can be kind of fun. All right, here we are in our beloved forearm plank. You might want to come to a knee down version. I really want you to check in with that neck, your tongue. And we're cultivating a breath that is as slow, deep, and wide as possible. And I know this is a weird position to try and breathe deeply, but if you can take a big inhale, I'm hoping you can even feel it into the upper back, which we're going to be doing a beautiful stretch for in a moment. Still hold strong in a seat. Okay. I hope it's just a delicious experience. When you come out, just settle onto your belly. And you might windshield wiper the legs side to side or rock the hips or whatever feels good to you. All right, so we're going to be coming into our thread the needle pose. My favorite version personally is from here, come back to your child's pose, and then lift up and take one arm underneath. Some people prefer it in puppy stretch, so you would start from your table pose, essentially. I shouldn't say puppy, table pose, and you bring one underneath. Of course, you could do a standing version. In any of them, if you would like, you can, especially the floor versions, you can take your hand, if you've got your right arm through, you could take your left hand and pull on the wrist. Or one of my favorites is to take that floor hand, the left one, if my right arm is under, and use it to kind of rotate my torso more deeply. And then in all of these versions, actually, if you're standing, tilt down a little towards the hand and let your head relax. In all of these versions, deep breath, I'm hoping, brings you a massage kind of around that shoulder blade. Are you guys feeling that? Yay! Again, no extra charge for the massage. Yoga is a massage that you're giving yourself, so make it delicious. Stay as long as this is appropriate. As you're ready, you'll come back to both hands. If you're in child's pose, obviously, the arms are forward. And then we'll take that other arm underneath. Sometimes people who come in and out from table pose like to enjoy, really doing an in and out version before settling. You can kind of do that in standing as well, of course. Wherever you are, make it delicious. Deepen your inquiry. You're on the hunt for stagnation, stuck stuff, and particularly noticing the connections all the way up and down the lines. Often remember, where we feel pain and discomfort is not the whole pattern. I always say there's a silent partner, or many of them perhaps. Okay, when you feel ready again, you'll come on out. We're going to come into a lovely counter pose of yoga mudra, right? So that's that intertwining with hands, pressing fists down, make sure you're in your core. So whether you're doing standing, or if you would like to be here on your head, nice core support, and you can come onto the crown of the head, pulsing in and out so the hands return to the hips, and your knees can be wide or right under your hips. If you're standing, you might take your feet to a straddle and enjoy a fold. I love it when I look out and I see all different versions. It's great. I think a big part of feeling great in our body and aging well is just getting so intimate with for each of us, and maybe differently. What are my tools for releasing stuff? What works well for me? We know breath should always be a part of that, but in what shapes? How does the breath touch me in this shape? I rotate a little left or right. As you're complete, we're gonna come on out and we're gonna recline over the bra strap. I know we usually do this beginning and end. Here we are in the middle. I'm just messing with you. Remember last week, again, we really emphasized in this pose seeking the ah. So if you have a blanket or a towel at home or what have you, can roll under, roll up and place it under. That is going to make it more likely that you can just recline and have your head touch the floor and have it be that ah experience. If what you have under your back is simply too tall, if you can add a little something under the head, you could tuck a shawl or something under there, that might make the difference. So if you're feeling a pull in your low back, I would say whatever's under you is definitely taller than you want it to be. And initially evaluating what is going on in the neck skull connection, rolling the head side to side, but also using your hand to explore right at the base of the skull, occipital ridge. You can take and kind of do what I call scrubbing. So whether you're using your fingers or thumb, scrubbing those areas, there's all these teeny connections that connect up and over that little ridge bone, right? And they go all the way down here. So these can be really aggravated texting. I would invite you to notice how often when you're texting, it's head down. Do you see people up here with the phone in front? We do not. It'd be great exercise, but you don't. At least I only catch myself maybe once a week and I go, oh yeah, heads up. But these also get really aggravated with head forward, which I tend to do when I'm in a hurry. Yeah, so really love it up. Move your jaw around, open your jaw wide, lion stretch. Yeah, you can stick your tongue out, draw it back and down, like someone's using a tongue depressor. How much stagnation is in that jaw tongue area for you today? And if this is a chronic area, if you're someone that, you're told, hey, you've got TMJ, et cetera, I encourage you to really get to know this area more deeply. It's not just the jaw, it's the base of the skull, the alignment of the trapezius muscles and shoulders. All right. And if you're craving any more arm stretching, and we did a lot of that in other positions, but by all means add it. When you're complete, please roll a little to one side to come off. Do not crank the head up from that reclined position. Lovely. Laying flat for a few moments. Deep, deep breath, letting it massage up and down the spine. Does anything feel different than when you were here at the beginning of practice in this basic corpse pose? Hopefully you feel a little more part of the mat. Maybe you also feel energized, like relaxed and energized, but in a less kind of caffeinated way. Hope so. We're going to come into bridge, hopefully the most powerful non-striving bridge you've ever done in your life. And we'll be adding foot hover, but let's go in and out a few times. So again, we can just really notice where our stuck places are in the back. So if you can very, very slowly exhale, raise the hips, even slower, even slower. Notice if the knees are coming apart, squeeze the imaginary block. Inhale, descending one rib at a time. And if this is very difficult, it may be that in one part of your back, you're really lacking spinal fluidity. We should be able to articulate through the vertebrae individually quite well. And we'll explore this in a moment also in our cow pat, because that's one place I see it a lot, where people's backs just move it, whole chunks of it at a time. All right. When you feel ready to fold in that up bridge up position, please first scan neck if you're feeling pressure and lift the chin up and back. And then as you're ready, add your foot hover, lifting one foot just a little off the floor and then the other. If this is just feeling way too hard, bring your feet closer. If you have to like lift the foot and put it back again, that's a great sign that it's probably a little too hard, and maybe bring the feet even closer. I want you to be able to go subtle and slow enough that you can catch yourself if the hip is dropping at all, because that tells us that some muscles are not helping the way they should. And it's usually the standing butt and thigh. Are you using your tongue? Eyebrows, neck, fingers. All right, come on down, friends, and bring knees to belly again. I'm going to give you an active version of spinal twist here that I really enjoy. And it's called open book, closed book. And then we'll come up to cow cat after that. But for your open book, closed book, you roll onto one side. You've got your arms kind of just open, nice core support. As you open the top knee, that's the opening of the book, feet are flexed. Let it go to the other side. And then eventually the other knee joins, that's the closing of the book. And we're gonna go back and forth, and I'm just gonna let my arms be on my belly or flop around. And I'm letting the forehead organically continue, the head rotates, so the forehead rotates toward the floor. So it's just an organic version of what you were doing before, going back and forth, last couple. When you're ready, we one more time, offer a little spinal rock up to hands and knees, or however you want to get there. How are you guys feeling? Good. Anybody find any stuck places? Uh-huh. Anybody find any stuck places they didn't know were there? Uh-huh. Cool. Fun. Yeah, you're like, hi, old friend. All right. Intelligent hands, shoulder heads anchor. As you inhale, please take tailbone back, and draw heart forward. And elongate your breath until there's absolutely no more space available. On the exhale, slowly begin to tuck the tailbone and progressively stretching the spine towards the ceiling and head. Inhaling, tailbone reaches back. And then heart draws forward. And I'm hoping you can kind of see this from the inside. You might even close your eyes again here. You don't really need it for balance. This is a great place to notice, like I said, where portions of your spine make you feel like they just move in one chunk, but also where you experience maybe some pain or discomfort. Obviously, if there's any sharp pain, you can stop, but it's just kind of like, oh, that doesn't feel great. Notice where that area is. We're going to be coming from here into a brief downward facing dog, and then a brief resting pose to lift up our wrists. Then we're coming into gate pose, which I'm really excited to do today. We haven't done it in a while, and it's a really fun one to try and find peace and ease in. It's a weird one, balancing sideways. Whenever you're ready, use that powerful warrior, go up to your downward facing dog. Let's just pedal it out. I really want you to explore the back of the leg here. We're going to ask a lot from those legs and ankles. In fact, this is a good time to roll out one ankle at a time. Oh, you might stretch through the top of the foot. You can take both feet out and do a little bear pose. So the feet are wide, and you might be kind of pressing one heel towards the floor, then the other. That'll take your hips side to side, and you also get the opportunity of a nice shoulder opener. Just make sure you're staying safe. So hands really anchored, fingers wide. The shoulders getting a stretch, but we don't want to collapse onto it. We want to feel really powerful, like a bear moving through the wind. We've actually been seeing a bunch of mama bears babies. Yeah, kind of cool. Okay, we're coming into child's pose, so just give yourself a counter pose, or maybe if you prefer ragdoll, if your knees prefer ragdoll, go there. Roll out wrists. And speaking of knees, before we come into gate pose, while you guys are in a resting pose, I'm just going to mention, if being on your knees in the way that we do gate pose is just problematic for you, some people can't handle that pressure. If you can bend the knee, but you just don't like pressure, a nice alternate is our lateral stretch or both legs straight, triangle pose. Okay. But it becomes more critical in the standing version that you really are conscious of the knee. We do not want a hyperextended knee. We really want to use those thighs. And we want to make sure the knee is not rotating in. Okay. In gate pose, one of the ways we protect the knee is this. When you're ready, table pose, you're going to take your right foot back, sole of the foot flat and parallel to the end of the mat. And I want you to push, like you're trying to squish something under the sole of the foot. If it bothers your ankle to have your ankle at that angle, that was hard to say, then come on the inner line of the foot, but with your foot flexed. And that will help protect the knee joint. Okay. So if you can't get the sole of the foot flat, then I want to be on the inner line, heel flat or foot flexed. Then I want you to look underneath you at your left hip and knee connection. My left butt was a little out behind the knee. I'm going to squeeze my left butt cheek so that it comes directly over the knee. Then I'm going to take my right hand to my right hip. I'm going to pause here. I'm going to check in with my back foot, make sure it's still pushing. It's actually my leg. And then I'm going to see if my head come back into alignment. One more thing. I'm going to see if I can raise my lower waist to lift into my upper. And then I'm going to play with that top arm. I like to look down the floor. My neck prefers it. Play with that arm and see if a reach toward the wall that's beyond your head feels good. So it's basically, again, like lateral stretch, but you're in this kind of crazy balancing pose. Although nobody's wobbling. You're just all pros. Hopefully you're feeling some quiver. I really want you to have a quiver. Good. Let's come out, take a break, love up those wrists. So one thing we can notice is, again, where are those tight spots? Some of us will have felt, holy Toledo, that's a lot of work for like the lower butt cheek, or wow, that's a lot of stretch in that straightening leg or the arm or whatever it might be. I'm really hoping, and you'll pay attention on this next side especially, that you'll feel that shortening of the lower waistline. And it's so powerful when it's really engaged. You should feel that you don't actually really need that floor hand. You should be able to kind of hover and just have like a few fingertips, but we're not quite there yet. Let's find our alignment. Intelligent hands. Left foot steps back parallel with the mat. We squish it into the floor. We squeeze our right butt cheek towards the center line until we sense it's over the knee. We open up the torso, left hand on hip. I'm going to check in with my head alignment. And I'm going to raise my lower waist into the upper waist. And as a part of that, I'm going to make sure my right shoulder is anchoring down into the body. And I'm going to play with that top arm. Keep reaching it overhead. I'm going to breathe. I'm going to see, can I release pressure from that floor handle? Breathe, notice, yeah, some people are having fun playing with the back leg raising up. Okay, good. Oof, we're gonna come all the way to our belly and get off those hands, coming into one of the most important postures I know for creating balance in our body, which is one of the only ways to reduce striving and stagnation and stuck stuff. And that is this poor back body, which is often so sore and tight. We actually need to squeeze it tight on purpose and then release it. Okay. So as you're ready, arms are in an airplane, palms facing the floor, shoulder head circle, and you might already get a little shoulder blade sandwich. Anchor down through pelvic triangle, pubic bone and hip bones. And please take a few breaths coming in and out of the pose. I offer that because otherwise the muscles tend to just tighten and go, okay, what now? I want us to train them to be powerful and fluid. Inhaling, we extend into jet airplane, shoulders sliding down, fingers reaching back. Exhale, we soften and maybe even let those arms just flop and roll. And then inhaling, we extend. Please notice, if you take your hands artificially high, it will rotate your shoulder head down and in towards the chest. I do not want that. I want the shoulder heads as far off the floor as possible and as far down. It's like you're putting your shoulder blades in your pockets. If it's feeling good, feeling strong, you're ready to be fluid and powerful, hold in your pose and perhaps extend one arm forward while the other one's reaching back. Switching. In your own time, release, soften. Here on the belly, child's pose. That's right. So let's do one more little kind of visit to forearm plank and jet airplane. Do a little run of that. So coming into your version of forearm plank, again, it might be on knees, it might be on feet. I usually come to knees first, so I have a chance to check out again who's doing the work, right? Because the problem is with stuck places is a lot of times that's where we're the most powerful and it'll just engage. We want a chance to communicate with the kind of weaker, less involved bits, get them to fire too. So we'd love our head to be in beautiful alignment with the rest of the spine, not dropping. Notice if you're kind of hunching your chest up into your shoulder blades and see if you can kind of neutral it out. So that there might actually be a little, not a wrinkle, but definitely like softness in the fabric around the shoulder blades. It's not whole tight. Create space there. Soft tongue. Breathing, noticing. When you come out, pause to soften. We really need to know what soft feels like. And then when you are ready to return to doing, we'll come into our jet airplane. And I kind of enjoy playing with moving between jet airplane and what I think is glider plane, arms straight out. And I like noticing the different muscles that ignites in the back and the shoulders. So all the time you like, when you're ready, breathe, extend, pelvis stays anchored. Try to create a position such that your thigh bones are pressing straight down towards the floor. Even if you're not lifting them, sometimes people kind of, it's like you squeeze the butt cheeks and turn the heels in and toes out instead of straight down. And especially if you decide to do any flight, like full Superman, say, thing applies. And as you're ready, we'll press back. Oh. We're going to add a little shape that I hope will help you find any stuck stagnation stuff in upper back, which is pretty consistently upper back, shoulders is the thing that everybody talks about when they come for massage. There's maybe other stuff, but that's on everybody's list. So this is one of my favorite ways to massage the kind of minutia around those vertebrae. Get into the erector spinae, everything. And that is simply resting on the forehead if you can, but also put something under the forehead, like a low block. And then you're going to tent your fingertips like so. And I want the whole arm off the floor if you can. If you have to take it wider because it's kind of bunging up through the neck and traps, then do that. And then with your hips as far back as they can go, see if you can spider walk your fingertips further forward. And we're going to take the 3 biggest breaths we've taken all morning. Big inhale. You can lift your torso and head if you need to, or it just feels good. Is there more? Exhale, settle. You can also relax through the arms and then initiate again. Spider fingers, breathe in. One more time. Okay, we're going to do one last one. We're going to have a subtle movement. Come up into your pose. And if you haven't already done it this way, lift your head and chest so there's nothing connecting except your fingertips. And I'm going to have you go just a little side to side. Breathe. And relax. Nice core support. As you return to table, we're going to do the gate pose one more time. I'm going to offer a little option. The option add-on, we only do add-ons when we already are really great with what we were doing, right? So no striving, it's not causing any pain. And you breathe is your indication that you're at the edge, not striving. So as you're ready, you can start with whatever leg you want. But once you come back into your position, I want you to absolutely check once again that lower waistline's working, the head's in alignment, the shoulders anchored, that you basically can lift that floor hand. But I'm going to offer you the option now to lift your floor knee or leg. Have a great day. All right, and return it. If you can hold it up and you want to briefly cross that ankle onto the other leg, go for it. But nothing, no collapse should be happening in that power leg. Okay. Sometimes people have fun putting the feet together at the back of the mat and coming into a side arm. Right? And some of these are just too dang much on wrists, and we don't do it. Yeah. So this is why I say some people, right? Some days. Yeah. Come on out. Let's find out what's going on the other side. But what I like about even just briefly lifting the knee up is you really find out is that lower waistline, that power source available to you? And if not, why not? What do we need to do? Yes. Yeah, that's it. That's usually. Yeah. Do you feel more powerful? Yeah. Yeah, one of the main places that we give up our power, I think in daily life and in a lot of postures, is this right here, the kind of xiphoid process where the ribs come together. When we try to be open, which, you know, you're always thinking about that in yoga and you see videos, everyone's very open, right? Well, that means you're very knot in your core, and now you got a ton of pressure in your low back, right? So we want to be here. So a big part of getting out of striving, getting out stuck places and ouchy places in our body is making sure we're using the right stuff. So please notice if when we did compression and expansion breathing on your back, if that felt really powerful and useful, I would strongly recommend, like, if you could make that a part of daily practice. I actually did it this morning. I was laying in bed. I'd woken up early without the alarm, but it was rainy and it was cold in the house. I was like, I don't want to get up quite yet. So I just did compression expansion breathing in bed. And it's awesome. It get a little hot. But if this is a challenge area for you, I strongly recommend you practice. You can put hands a few places. One of them is that right here below the chest, basically. Another one is that some of us want to try and talk to those low abdominal muscles that support the low back and kind of gets the psoas involved. Now, we don't want to like train ourselves to be walking around in hyper tuck, right? That's a whole different kind of stress. But if you tend to be kind of tailbone tilted back, ribs forward in your habit, we want to help the body feel what does it mean to release and contract in opposite way so that hopefully we find it. And please remember, because I'm seeing some like light bulbs go on for people, I'm available to work with you one-on-one. That's part of my commitment to you. And so often here it's 5 minutes or something after class or whatever that we can spend time. And I can really thin slice and look at your alignment. And anybody who's, you know, only available on Zoom long distance, we can do that as well. And I of course do private one-on-ones for like a whole hour. But my goal is to always meet with people. If you're not sure, am I doing that thing? She said, then I would love to meet with you. All right. For now, I'm going to ask you to notice, what does your body need? So reclined pigeon or classic pigeon would be a classic one to go into, as hips are one of the most chronic places that are stuck for people. If you know that you really benefit from straddle, or one of my favorite versions is dropping the heel, the butt down towards the heel, extending this like heel flex, and that will get me into those adductors and even our thigh. Maybe you're like, why do you move today? Feel free. So we're going to spend a couple of minutes just tuning in to where do we need to go to talk to the places in us that we maybe historically know we're stuck, or we notice today as a part of our practice. Yeah. So it's stay rest. It's why and honestly, yeah, but yeah, somebody here is noticing how good that stretch feels, where you go from straddle and drop the butt. But if you can't just easily really let your butt come down to the heel, I will say I have done this at home. I've got benches in my dining room where I've just done a supported version of it, so I've got my hands on the bench, go to the side, and let that 1 foot rotate. You can also do just great stuff for support. You can put one leg up, but having tables, benches, and things to hold on to can allow you sometimes to get into your best stretch without feeling like you have to tighten because it's so intense, you're afraid of injury, right? So finding that ease. Nice. Oh, my friends, speaking of ease, it's time to let our bodies rest and integrate what we've done today. I hope it's been a nourishing practice, strengthening, particularly trying to strengthen some of the areas that I know are what are supposed to be holding us so that those other places that are often in stress can let go. And so as you're kind of just arranging yourself, get cozy, putting on a layer, having a blanket handy if you're at home. It can be marvelous to rest with like the lower leg up on an ottoman, for example, or a sofa. Maybe one of the legs up the wall. Maybe like the bolster supported on the block. So you can just be reclined onto it. So inviting you to find your resting place. Then I'd like you to scan and check that your system really can be in a state of ease here. If not, make a change. You might even just sort of run your attention from the head down to the feet and ask, am I holding anywhere? It might be super subtle. It might just be that kind of outer hips that aren't quite letting your feet rotate open. And then please enter this resting space with a few sighing breaths. You might witness the texture of the breath. And with each exhale, there's a deeper invitation to settle, soften, and sink. Letting go of all breath control. You might witness once again what a beautiful feeling it is to just be supported, sense of ease, nothing to know or accomplish. And in this case, your brilliant, wise body is taking all of that life force that you've cultivated, all of that flow, and taking it where the body needs it the most. So sometimes I let my kind of final mantra be simply thank you. Please remain introverted, but be completely aware of my voice. What are your stuck spots? Where do you lack mobility? Where do you feel stagnation or pain, congestion, physically or emotionally? And as always, I'm inviting each of us to consider a mantra, a word, or phrase that when we come across our stuck places can be a part of the getting unstuck process. Mind you, as I pointed out at the beginning of practice, that simply sighing breaths alone will be a marvelous assistant in the process of finding more ease, seeking the ah when you recognize that you are not there. Please take all the time you like, gently exploring lower wrists, ankles, and more. Om Shanti Shanti. Om Peace, Peace. Namaste. What a beautiful time to express gratitude to your body and being. I'm certainly grateful that you were able to keep your commitment to be at your mat this morning. And I hope you take a moment or will take a moment to just acknowledge that to yourself, that that's not a given and in of itself quite an achievement. I look forward to seeing you next week. Hope you have fun being you. See you soon at the mat. You're welcome. Thanks for being here.
Bye, hun.
Bye.